Hello everyone. I'm Jogendra. I'll be taking this workshop on iOS development. So I will be keeping this workshop very basic level. I will talk about some basic iOS steps and basic steps related to Swift language, and then we will be going through a hands-on experience. Like we will be uh, developing a small app, and then your questions. So yes. Can you all my see my screen? Cool, I am starting. So I will start with introducing me. So I am final year student, uh, pursuing my BTech and MTech from IIT BHU, and I have been GSOC student with Force Asia 2018, where I worked on a iOS related project, and I mentored GSOC and GCI students for the Force Asia, and I am GitHub campus expert. And currently, I am working with Zomato as an iOS intern, and you can find me here on the links Twitter, GitHub, or LinkedIn. So let's start. So we will be talking about the Xcode and the Swift language mainly. So Xcode is used to develop the apps for iPhone or Mac OS or on any Apple platforms like Watch OS. You can develop other apps. It support. There are many other languages like C, Objective C. Other languages are compiled through its Xcode command line tools, and it's limited to Mac only. If you have Mac OS, then you can run Xcode. It is available on Mac Store only. You cannot run Xcode on uh, other Unix based systems like Linux or other Windows OS. So for the iOS development or other Apple platform development, you have to have Mac OS if you want to develop native applications. Uh, and it's Xcode come with simulators and all. You can test out your applications on simulator, all kind of iPhones like iPhone 7, iPhone 7, 8, X, anything, any iPhone available in the market. And then there is language called Swift that is created by Apple uh, in 2014. So before that, all the applications in Swift were uh, using the Objective C language. Then Apple came with their own language uh, called Swift, and now they are on Swift 5.2 version, and it's pretty stable. And uh, they made Swift language open source in 2015, and they Swift language is very safe language, safe in the sense type safe and all, and it's faster than objective previous language Objective C. And if you compare to Python, it is like 8 or 9 times faster than Python, and it's in demand because all the Apple platforms apps are developing in the Swift language, so it's in demand. Uh, so first we will talk about the some basic concept of Swift language. Uh, let's start with constant and variables. So I will open my chat. Yes. So constants are the defined by you can define constant by writing late before the constant name, like late image name or something. And variables are constant are cannot be modified later once declared. And variables, as the name suggests, it's a variable. You can assign values to it again and again, and they are defined as var. Okay. And there are functions which have functions are quite same as different languages, like they contain some blocks of functionality. And there is closure is a new thing in uh, Swift language. Closure are basically they are like functions. They are not exactly functions, but they are uh, block of some functionality that can be passed around, uh, and they are passed around as a reference type. And then there is in Swift language there is all it have all the basic data structures like array, integers, floats, doubles, and all. And there is collection types. There are collections there as like arrays, set, and dictionaries. and and then there is enums. Enums are basically like a group of some same kind of data, or you can say like you must know about the switch statements. All they have the cases, like this case, like there is like like if I am ordering something from apps, so it can be delivery, it can be dining. So these are two kind of cases. One case is delivery, one kind is dining. So they can be grouped in the enums, and they can be later used as a in the switch case or any other than this. And then there is optionals in the Swift. So when I talk about Swift, I told that Swift is very safe to use. Like, what made it safe is they have this things called optional. So you can optional means this sum of property or sum of variable can have value, or can may have value or may not have value. So when you are using that, uh, when you are declaring that, you can declare that as a optional. And later when you are using, you can check that if you know that it can be nil or it can have value. So you can you can check it, like if it is nil, then do this, or if it have value, then go with the value. So they make it safe language. And then there is yeah, optional chaining is basically you can like one of the instance have is optional, and there is another property in the optional inside the optional object that can be also be optional. So you can change them as an optional, like one, if one of the optional value fail, then it all this chaining will be nil. So that is very useful. And then there is access control is basically when you can define your scope of your functions. You can define if it is private, like it should be limit to this class only. Only this class can use it. Or you can define it like internal is basically default, which means like it is not private. If someone else is using, can use if have access to that class. And then there is public means you can directly access it from other class or something, because it is marked as public. And there is open, which is almost same as public, but not exactly same. And then there is file private. So let's say if you have two classes, if you have one Swift file and you have two different classes in one file, so what you want is you want to declare some function that in one class that should be accessible in other class in the that file only. So you can declare them as a file private. So they are useful when you are writing different classes in the same file, and you want to access functions functionality from other classes. And protocols are protocols are just the blueprints of methods. So like they can hold some functionality. They do not implement the functionality, but they hold the functionality that you can pass around from the one class to another class, and then another class will implement it. So protocols are very useful. uh, and then there is delegation which use the protocols. uh, so we will come to that in the iOS things. uh, and then there are extensions. So if you have some class, let's say you have some class that have some kind of functionality, there are all the functions and all. So you want to extend it, you want to uh, extend some more functions to it. So you can just write the extension of it rather than writing everything inside the same class. You can just write the extension and uh, write that new functionality in the extension. So they are very useful when you when you protocol is called that. No, protocols are just the interface. So yes, extension are very useful when you are using the delegations. So let's say if you have one class that, let's say that is controller class, and you want to adopt some protocol method of some different class. So you can just write extension of that class and that adapt to that protocol, and then you can start writing their implementations. And initializations is basically how you initialize your objects. What should be, when you initialize something, what should be the parameter, how what are some properties that should be that should have some class, or should be passed around when you initialize them. And ARC, yes. So ARC is a very strong ARC is a very powerful feature of Swift language. Though ARC is basically automatic reference counting. When you create new object and use their instance and all, so you don't have to worry about the memory management. Swift do it automatically for you. You can assign them when they are not needed. They are not needed in the memory. So Swift just automatically uh, deallocate them. That is ARC. And let's just come to some basic iOS systems. So uh, there is UI kit. UI kit. So all the things in the screen you see, or the labels, the text fields, the images, and other buttons and all. They all come in UI kit. It is the framework by Apple. So it have all these UI elements. And then there is Swift UI, that is new framework introduced by Apple. So which uh, is kind of replacement of UI kit, not exactly, but yes. uh, so you that is very like with the less number of lines of code, you can uh, implement complex UI and all that Swift UI offers. And for the architectures, mostly the MVC and MVVM are being used. MVC is model view controller. So One is controller, that is basically your mini screen or that hold all the views, and views are like small components of that controller in the screen, and models are just basically to hold the data. And MVVM is different, is one another design pattern, so you can use it. So mostly the MVVM are being used at enterprises level, and then there is Viper and other different architectures. And storyboard, yes. So storyboard is basically you can Xcode offer this storyboard that is XML file, but that is visually representation of the what UI you want. Like you can drag and drop all the buttons, you can drag and drop labels, you can drag and drop other things, and you can just see them and you can place them, you can set consent to them. That is a storyboard. So you can have a storyboard, you can have app without the storyboard, that's your choice. And constraint are basically like how you like placement of the elements in the screen, like where you want to place your buttons, how should it be below from this other view, or how should be it from the leading of the screen. So they are constrained. And auto layout is basically you are the screen size of iPhone 7 and iPhone X are different, right? So you want to auto layout give you the ability to use the same code for the different skins, and they just adapt this different sizes, different constraint, different like there is, let's say, one app that is available on the iPhone, and that is also available on the iPad. So they do not use different code for the iPad app and iPhone app. They just use one code. So auto layout give that flexibility to make your views adapt the size. That is auto layouts. And then there is animations. You can animate the stuffs. And table views and collection views are very extensively used in iOS development. So you can, let's say you have some same kind of not same kind of, you have some, you want to display the list of something, mostly there as list, so you can use the table views and you can use the collection views. And core data is a database Apple provide to you store some is not exactly database, but it is SQL, like you can store the things locally in the iPhone. And then there is delegation is basically the passing the, like let's say one class is want to pass some its functionality to different class. So delegations design pattern is used to pass that functionality around the classes, around the structures. And then there is networking, so how you fetch the data from servers, from some REST APIs or something else. And app delegate is basically the heart of your application. Like every when you launch the app, it's provide you some functions, like when user will be launch when user launch or applications, so it will come through this. You can define your logics, like how it should progress, where should it go after the uh, it launch the applications. You can define your app level logics in the app delegates. And like they are all the app delegate have app level access, so you can define all the methods there. And they they have the method that tell you when the app is in background, when app is in foreground, and other methods. And view controller lifecycle is basically, so when you present or put some view controller, so view controller follows the cycle, like they load the view, then they give you some functions, they called one by one, like first when you first time open it, then they call this view did load function, then it after when it about to appear on screen, so it will trigger the method view will appear. Then if after the appearing on the screen, it will trigger view did appear, and other methods. There are other view will layout subview and all. And for the external frameworks, like you want uh, you want some other frameworks that are developed by some other developers, so like package managers, so you can use them. Like there is some library open source, you want to use it, so there are different way to use it in iOS. There are already some functionality developed in that, so you don't write it by your own. You can use that functionality from that framework, so you can use cocoa puts or Carthes, or there is Swift package manager, you can use that to uh, install external framework, you using external frameworks in your applications. And yes, so so we will have one hands-on we will be going through a small applications. So from the Xcode, from here you can create a new. You all can see my screen, right? Can you see the Xcode on the screen? Okay, cool. So there is one question called what is different with working of Swift and SwiftUI. So Swift and SwiftUI is like they are not the different. Like SwiftUI is some of the one of the framework like UI kit that is you can use in Swift. Swift is a language. SwiftUI is framework, that is not the language. Okay, so we will be creating a new app, so that will have some functionality called, they will have the list of displayed some list of dogs that will be we can display in the one screen. So from here, playgrounds are basically you can test your some chunks of code in the Apple offer you the playground. You can just check it some of functionality, and then you can implement in the your project or something else. And then there is a new project, Xcode project, so that's a click on it to create the new project. So it will offer you the this dialog. You can you want to create the app for the iOS, you can select it for watchOS, tvOS, macOS, or you want it to be a cross-platform app. So we will be creating a new iOS app. So you can different type of applications you can initiate from here, like master detail app or some iMessage type app, or just AR AR app, or some different game or something. So click on next. Uh, you can type it name like we will be giving name it dog listings something. So it's Xcode 11 offer you this ask you if what should be the user interface. SwiftUI, if you want to use the SwiftUI for your project, you can select the SwiftUI. Otherwise, you can use the storyboard. So we will be going with the storyboard, because in and you can also mark the include UI unit and UI testing, or you can just ignore it. If you want to use the code data, you can just mark it here, and yes, click on next, and we'll be saving in the desktop. So this is our project. So you can start developing from it. This is app delegate we were talking about. So in the like from Xcode 11, then there is things called scene delegate, which come into light. So this scene delegate have all the one some of the functionality that used to app delegate have had. And then there is view controller that hold some functionality of the some screen. And then there is main.storyboard, uh, which you can use to drag and drop your elements here, like commands. Then there is, if you want to place some label here or some button here, or slider or anything, you can just drag from here and just drop it here, and you can modify them. But we will not be using storyboard in our app. I will prefer using writing UI in the code rather than using the storyboard, because it's become complicated with the time. And if you are working with the team, it's very hard to maintain the storyboards, because they are at final they are written in the XML. So you can see this open is like this source code. So you can see, like, this is how it is written. When two or three in the team will be writing the code, and they some of one of you is dropping some element there, and some of it is there. When there is conflicts come, it is very hard to resolve in the this Xcode file, storyboard file. So we will be deleting the storyboard file, and we will just use the pure code to implement all the UI and everything. So I'm deleting this. You can move it to test. And app in the project setting here in general, you can main interface, uh, default Xcode chooses this main.storyboard. You can remove this main.story from here. And then there is info.playlist, which hold some properties of the your project. So it also say that the main interface of this is main.storyboard. So you can just storyboard name, you can just remove it from here. Yes. So you just get rid of storyboard. Now you can go to the scene delegate and define your window and what the initial view controller should be. So you can, so when the application launch, this function is triggered. Window scene. This is the window scene you already get. So we have already this window. Window is basically the all the screens and everything you have is inside one window. So you can use that window to present any screen or anything. So we will reassign it to the UI window and use the initializer from the window scene. Window scene is we just got from here. And guard late is basically the it check it's for the early return. If it check if the scene is type of scene is typecasted at the UI window scene. So if scene is there, or and it scene is type of UI window scene, then it will window scene have value, and it will come to next line. Otherwise it will just return. If if this thing do not have any value, it is nil or anything, or it is not satisfied to it condition, so it will just go to this else statement and it just return. So it is used for the early returns, and then you can later use this if this have value. And so you can assign a root controller to this We will use some navigation controller. It's UI navigation controller. And UI, the root controller of navigation controller is this controller. We have this view controller. You can just write it and you can just empty initialize. And next thing you have to do is window. So make key invisible. What is do is it just make it this root where we can this window to the key window and make it visible in your application. And now you can just check it on the simulator by setting some background color. You can just launch it on simulator. I'll use iPhone 11. I will come to your questions after this. Okay, so this is simulator. You can test your app. You can see it. We had set the background to the just red, and this you see is navigation bar, because uh, we put this view controller inside the navigation controller. So let's stop this, and now we will just rename it to something like dog list view controller or something. And rename it here. So we also have to rename it here. Yes. So this view did load. This is a function of view controller lifecycle. One of the function. Like once this screen is load, this view is loaded. What you want to do? You want to implement something inside it. You want to perform something. You can decide it here or put that in. Put that here. So we will be setting up some. Like we can write the. We can write this title on here. We will write some title here like dog list or something. You can see here just the title of the controller. Uh, so we will be implementing a application where list of some dogs will be shown and the image of the dog, and then following the name of that dog, and that will be a kind of UI view controller that will be multiple cells, and that will representing different dogs image and different name. So we will make this controller we will extend this controller not from the UI view controller. We will extend it from UI table view controller. So it gives us different functionality of the table view controller. You can directly access it. Other thing you can do is just use the UI view controller and adapt the UI table view delegates and data service, and you can use the functionality of the UI table view. But we will just use it UI table view controller. We will just extend it from table view controller. And table view controller there is inside the, like if you launch this app, it will show you. Remove this background. You can see that there are lot of cells. You can see there are different cells. Currently they are all the empty. So we will be having some table view cell that will be used here. So we can stop the running it, and we can create a new class that is type of UI table view cell. Sorry. You can add a new file from here, and that is Cocoa Touch class. Cocoa Touch basically classes are this UI table view, UI table view cells, UI buttons, and all the UI kit related things. So you can name it dog table view cell, something, or that is subclass of UI table view cell. And you don't want XIB files because we will be writing everything in the code, and you can decide the language here. We will be using the Swift language. And you can just create it. Then there is yes. So you can get rid of this function, and this function is basically override functions, which, like, if you want to, when you click on that cell, it should be some some different style, or like, how should I explain this? I'll just set it to the I'll not be using any set selected state. Style to none. So this is the cell that will be using in the table view cell. This is one cell, and for the different number of different data we have, we will using the same cell again and again. And we can create the initializer of this cell, which you can use it when you make an instance of it. So we'll make it just public initializer. Super.init is basically super of this class is, or class name is dog table view cell, and it is extended from UI table view cell. So super is basically the UI table view cell. So when you initializing this class, you can call the super.init init to initialize the its super class to use their functionality. So you can use the same initializer. Style is style you have from this override function, and to use identify, you can use the same. So in this initializer, we will be using some basic, like creating view and all that is required when you initialize something. What should be views inside this cell and all. So you can create them during the initializer. So you will just put that functions here that will be called during the initialization. So I will have two things here. One is label that will display the name of dog, and one is UI image view that will display the image of dog. So we'll just write it here later. We'll name it title label, and that is type of UI label. Now you can just create a label here. That's type of UI label. You can return that label here. When you are writing everything in the code, that's how you create new label or any other UI kit UI elements. In the storyboard, you just drag and drop from the drag and drop in the storyboard. So now you can, in the inside label, you can define its fonts, define its text, or text color, everything you can. So we will set text color to the text color black, and we will set the font to the UI font of type some system fonts. size you can define here. You can just make it 22. So uh, the font size of this label will be the 22. That's how you can define it. And then we have to create a image view, UI image view that will represent the that will display the image of dog. That will be type of UI image view. Initialize it and you can return the same. So now here you can assign the image to this image view, or some different, like if you want to uh, like how should be the content, how images should be, if image is more than size to this image view size, how you want the content mode. So you can define the content mode dot content mode. So I'll make it scale aspect fill. So what it will do is it will fill the size, like if you are defined 100 by 100 image. So if our image is in different ratio, like they are in 3 by 4 ratio, like 300 into 400 or 100 into 130 or something. So it will scale to that ratio, that size ratio, and fill that image. And scale to fill is just whatever the size, it will fill that whole uh, image view. It can be, it can cropped. And scale aspect fit is it just fit to the its aspect ratio, whatever the size you are defining it with. So we will just use the aspect fill. And we can define the corner radius of this. Corner radius you can give it 8. This will set that it will send them later. So yes. So now you have created two. One is one label and one UI image view. So you have to, but they are not yet added to the docw cell. You have to add them to the this cell. So you will just create some private function. Private function create view the something else. Just name it anything. And inside this function we will add these two title label and dog image view to the table view cell. So every table view cell have this content view, that is like basically the view inside this cell that is already in the UI table view cell. So you can just use it, and you can just add subview. Add subview, this method just add this view to the subview of it. So you can just add title. You can just add title label as a add subview, and then you have to also add the dog image. You add the subview. You have added to the cell. And during the initialization, when this cell is being initialized, you want to call this function to create the views. So when you initialize this cell, this should have a title label and dog image view inside it. So you can just call this function inside the initializer here. And then there is you have just added to it, but you haven't set yet data to it, like data, or just you uh, haven't set yet constraint to it, like where, how they should be, where should be, how big they should be, or how their alignment will be. So you have to uh, create the constraint and apply to them view. So for now we will go to the dog list view controller. This is a controller where we will be using this dog table view cell. So we have extended it from the UI table view controller, so we can use the UI table view controller methods. So it's you can define the you can define define the number of sections should be in the table this table view. This number of sections, and just return it when we will be using the one section. So you can just define the number of sections according to the data you have. Like you see in the iPhone settings, there are different sections for the different. So you can they are the different sections. You can define them here, like what number of sections should be, and inside the one section, what number of cells should be. So you can define the from that from also from here the number of rows in section. You can define the number of rows. To return, you can just return it just one cell or something. And also that cell we have created, first we have to register it, and then we can use it. We can just dequeue it and use that cell inside this dog list view controller. So table view this table view table view we have from the its super class. So you can just register new cell from like this, register, and the cell class we have is dog table view cell, and identifier we can just use the description of that cell. Identifier are basically uh, when you are dequeuing it, when you are using it in the UI table view, you will have to tell that like what is the identifier of this table view cell you are using it. So you can register same cell as a different identifier, or you can dequeue it according to your use. So then there is a function called cell for row at index path that where you can define the cell for that particular row. Cell for row at index path. So there is you just return now. You can now return the UI table view empty cell in it. But we have this cell called dog table view cell. We will be using that. So is equal to table. We will dequeue it here. Dequeue cell with the identifier, and identifier is here is description. We have defined this the same identifier here, and we will be dequeuing it with the same identifier. And now we want this cell as a dog W set, so we will be typecast this cell as uh, dog W set. So typecasting is basically, let's say you have some string value that is two in the string. So you know that it is integer. How can you use it? So you can just typecast it as an integer, like this string value as integer. So that will return you 2 as an integer. So this cell we have typecasted as a dog view cell. So it will return this cell will be the type of dog table view cell, not just another cell. So, and this is optional, like it can be this type or it may not be this type. We are not sure yet. So we will be using this if late to decide if this is the type of dog w cell, then we will go forward and return this cell. Otherwise we will just return that empty cell. So you can just return the cell here. So now this cell is, if the cell is type of dog w set, this cell we dequeued, then it will come to this and return this cell. Otherwise it will return the empty cell. Okay, so this is basic how you define this cell for particular row. You can also define the height of a particular cell. So you can use this method height for row at index 1. You can just return it. You can make it value like 140 or something. It will be height. So you can have the different size of cell. You can just write the logic here. How what should be height of this table view cell or anything. You can just define it differently, but we just have a common height. We will be using it. So now if we run this, so it will show this, like you can see it different. This is different table view cells, and they are height of 140. So and why this image this dog this cell have this type of title label and dog image view. They are not displaying it because we haven't defined the constraint to them, and we haven't set the text to label. We haven't set the image to the image view, so we have to set that. So I have some collection of images which I will be using it here. These 6 images I will be using here. So there is a folder called asset folder. You can just put your images here and use it in your applications. There are different dogs images. You can just make it universal. So 1x, 2x, and 3 is basically the low density iPhone use the density image, or and high density screens use the high density like 3x or 2x according to their need. But we have made it universal, like all type of screens will be using the same image, same quality. And also we can have all the images. We have all the images in our assets folder. Now we can uh, have them as a UI image in our app. So I will just create a new file called something constant, where I define all the my constant images, or some app level other constant. So I just name it app constants. Yes. And now you can use it. You can create a struct, or you can name it app constants. And you can have the fields here. Like you can create another struct inside it that will image, and you can have the static variables here, like create this image name and something that will be type of this, like how you can design it. So you will be creating some of the constant here, put them all at the same place, and you can use it at different places. So you will be accessing it through like app constant dot image name here. How that's how. So I have already created this constant, so I'll be just typing it, just pasting it from here. Take the time. So they are all the name of all the uh, images, like jpeg, jpg, or they are all here, labrador and all. So I just put them in the constant and use it here. And also we will be it's throwing the error because we haven't created this model yet. So we'll be creating new models called dog data object, which will hold the name of that dog and image for that dog. So you can just go and create a new Swift file and name it dog data object. Yes, there you go. So you can make this step called dog data object, and this will have two fields, like one is name of dog which will be type of the string, and other one will be the uh, image of this dog. That will be type of some UI image, and there may or may not be value, so we will be uh, making it optional. Optional means this image may have value or may not have value. It is throwing error because UI image is in UI kit, not in foundation. So you just import the UI kit. So this is just the models we will be using, simple model. This hold the name of the dog and UI image of that particular dog. Yes. So hey, if you go to the data object, this is the array of dog data object which hold all the value of the name of the dog and the name of all the dog and name of image of all the dogs. So we will directly using this as a data source. Now you can go to this controller. So controller, we will use this data. So you can just create a constant list. So you can just access from the app constant dot dogs, and dogs have this all the dogs data. So this is basically the list of all the dogs we have created in the constant file here. This dog data that is static we have declared, and we can just use it in the controller. And now this controller have this dog list. So you want to have the number of cells according to the number of dogs you have. So you can define it here like number of rows how should be equal to the dog list count, and yes, how yes. Now we have the data. We have decided the count of rows in section, that is according to the number of dogs we have. If you run this, that will show us 6. Or yes, that will show us 6 cells, 3 and 3 6, because the number of dogs inside this list is 6. Now we will be assigning this data to the cell. We haven't assigned yet data yet. So first we will go to the cell, and we will define the constraint of this. So before assigning the constraint, we will tell this view this. So we will tell this view that this label dot translate resizing mask into constant to the false, because you can just see it's a boolean value that determines whether the view's resizing mask is translated into the auto layout constant or not. So you will just mark them false because you will be setting the constant by yourself here, so they will not use the default. So you will just make it false. Also you can do the same for image view, translate to the false. How you can assign the constraint to the all the all these two views. We will design it. So first we will be defining the constraint to dog image. Like first there will be first dog image, and then they're following the name of image. Like they are horizontally aligned. So you will see it when I run the code. So for now, just assign the constraint. So you can just assign constraint like dog image view dot leading anchor is how this, from where this leading of this dog image view will start. So you can set the constraint. We will use this method like from where it should it be the design. So we will be this leading should be defined from the self dot content view. Self dot content view is the content view of this cell, which is basically the equal to the dog table view cell view. And you can define the constant like it will be 16. It will have 16 leading padding. You can just define. And to make it active, you have to just no, not contain view dot leading anchor. To it, it will be leading anchor should be defined from the leading anchor of content view of this, and you can just activate. So you have to activate the constraint. You can also deactivate the constraint at the same time, like different type of constraint according to your need. And now uh, you can also define the top anchor. How what should be the heading from top using this. So we will be just we'll got content view and top anchor, and we will be also have the padding of 16 and make it active. Also, we have defined the leading view. We have defined the top anchor. So we have to define it height. What should be the height and what should be the width of this. So height anchor you can define it constant, and we will just make it equal to some constant. So we will create some constant here, and that we will use it as a constant. Name it as a constant, and we will here define the image size, which will be holding CG, the kind of CG size, and CG size will hold the width and height. So width we will have it as a square. So we will have the width of 100 and also the height of 100. Now you can just use this constant like constants dot image size dot this is height. So you can just access the height like this and make it active. And also define the width anchor same as height constant equal to constant dot image size dot width. So you are done with all the constraint, right? So you have set the constraint to the dog image view. So now the remaining is the title label. So we have defined the height, width, and leading and top of dog view, and we will have a label just after the image view. So we can define the constraint of title label as like leading will be the just after this dog image view. So this will be equal to dog image view dot trailing, because we are when where the dog image view ends, the the last trailing point of dog view, it will start constraint from here leading of this title label promised it, and we will set the some constant. So this will far from this of this constant like 16, or you can have more spacing between them, like you can have a spacing of 32. Sorry. Also you don't have to define this top and all, because you just we can just make it to the center to the dog view, and that's all. It will be the center to the dog view. Title level center y anchor. So it will be centered y to the dog view. to the dog image view y anchor, center y anchor, and make it active. So now we done with all the constraint. We have set the constraint to the image view. We have set the constraint to the title label. So now we can just set the data to the title label and dog image view. So we will just create a public functions. Public function will be, which we can name it like set data or something. Set data, which will be taking this dog data object as a parameter and assigned to the title label and dog image view. Dog data object, this type of dog data object. So we will be calling these functions from the controller, this set data, and in the controller we have the dog data object, and we will just pass it, and this cell will assign that data to data. So title label or dot text will be the uh, dog data object dot name, and the image should be dog image view dot image will be the object dot image. Yes. So we have assigned the name and image to the title label and dog image view, and we will be calling this set data function from the table view controller, and this will set the data. So we are pretty much done with this cell. So we can just then there is yes, we are pretty much done. So we can go back to the this controller, this dog list view controller, and now we can assign the data to here. Like this cell, we have already accessed this cell as a table view cell, and this cell have this public function called set data, which ask for the dog data object, which you have to provide it. So you have the list of dog list here. This is array of the dog data object. So you can just assign it like dog list, and the element number of elements where the like if it is the first cell, you can it should have the data of 0 index data here. So you can just from index you have from the index path, you can just use it. So index path row is basically the tell us the which row is it first row, it is second row, or what number of what where what is the this cell, where is the cell, like it is at first place or it is at second place or anything, and you just assign the data to here. And now if you run this, we have already set the data, we have already set the constraint, so you can see it. This is the UI we got. So this is the bug, this is the image, and following it have the name of this dog. We have assigned this reading constraint to the 16, but you can see it reading constraint is 0 here. Set to true. And this is the size we have defined. So now we can just make it round. We can assign some corner radius to it. This dot layer dot corner radius to 8 or anything, and image view. We will make it mask to bound true. We can see the Now you can see the uh, images that have the corner radius of 8, and they are 16 from the leading and 16 from top. And this title label have 32 pixel from this image. So you can see the list of all the dogs here. There are 6 dogs, and see the list. So in now we will be not adding much functionality to it, and we will just finish it. So what you can do it, I'll share the link of GitHub repository where I will put this code, and you have to what you have to do is you have to when you click on this cell, that should open the new screen that will display the big image of that dog, and then display the name of tag, or you can just extend the data object and you can add more things to it. So you can I will make that open source, and you can just raise the pull request. So yes, that's all. Now let's come to your so so yes, so now you have the basic idea of iOS development and basic idea of Swift language. So there is these resources which I found most helpful, like which I use to refer some if I want to learn something. Like there is this Ray Vanderlist. This is the website. They have pretty good blogs about different things. A lot of blogs, which is pretty famous. You can refer to their blogs, and there's WWDC videos available on the uh, Apple website, which you can refer for the official documentations. And then there is course on Stanford by Stanford, CS 193 P, which is available on the YouTube. You can use that. That is best course I come across, like even on the any online courses platform like Coursera or Udemy or anything. The CS 193 P is the most like one of the most I just recommend it. And there is different blog website like Swift by Sundell. He publish blogs every weeks, so you can refer to them. They are about the different small functionalities. And then there is an app hipster, you can use it. And then there is official book by Apple, which is called the Swift programming language, which you can refer to any official document of the Swift language. And you can always refer to the Apple documentation about the UI kits and any iOS development related classes and all. And we have already went through the so now I can come to your questions. You can ask me questions here. I will be answering our previous questions. So one question is, can we set up iOS environment in VS Code? No, but you can write the code, but you cannot run it in the VS Code. You need to have the simulator. You just need compiler to compile your code. So for that you need Xcode. Is it Mac Studio? No, it is not. It is Xcode, which is like similar to the Android Studio. You already answered this. Which editor we can use in the Mac? You have the answer. and where I can start iOS development. So you can refer to the courses I mentioned mentioned in last slide. You can refer to them, and also uh, I can share the link where I have compiled list of uh, all the resources. So I'll be sharing here in the list. So you can just use this. I'm not able to share it. Why? Okay, I'll put that list inside this. You can go to my profile and you can just check out this repository jogendra.github.io, where inside the post folder you can find this one MD file called Swift and iOS development learning resources. Hey, Jogendra, could you please message some resources or links? So I will post it on my Twitter handle. So you can just go to the Jogendra FX, and I'll just posting it just after the workshop, and you can find the links here. Some of the links I find useful. Sir, in the image struct, where we define all the images, can replace it with the dictionary where we access it through key value phrase. Yes, but why do you need dictionary? We can just have the array. So dictionary is just key value pair. You can just name it and you can just access it through the. Can someone tell online courses? I would not recommend any Coursera or any Udemy or other different courses. I will just recommend this one CS 193 course. You can go through it, and this have the good content the professor covered. Other than you can just follow the good blogs, and then there is small YouTube videos by some channels called Seen Alan and other channels. I'll mention in the my tweet as well. Sir, can we remove the height anchor for the image? No, height anchor you have this height. This height anchor is you have given to the image view, not the cell. Cell height is different from the image view height. So cell height we have defined in the controller is what should be the height of that cell, not the image view. Image view for the image view we have to define the height of this image view. So they are different, and we have to define them differently. So can I use VirtualBox for this OS? But VirtualBox like Xcode is pretty much pretty much heavy. So on Mac, people face the problem of running it slow and all. So on the VirtualBox, I'm not sure it will work or not. It will. First of all, it is not. available on different platform. But Swift is available on different platform. On Linux, you can compile the Swift. Swift programming language book by Apple will be helpful for learning and beginning. For the beginner, I would not recommend you referring to this Swift programming language by Apple because it have pretty like medium to medium level documentation, so you will not may not unsend some concept. So but you can just refer to some blogs. They have explain things very basically at beginner level, like Dave Enderleitz or Swift by Sundale. So do you have any other questions, or I'll just end this? So book for beginners. So you can go to the Ray Vanderlich. There is some books by the Ray Vanderlich team. You can just use them. And some books are objc.io. You can refer to them, and then you can watch some YouTube videos and then get some insight of that. How will you deal with exceptions? So there is error handling in the Swift language. You can just use that to handle the exceptions and all. For Zomato hiring, can you share most important topic? Like most important, you should be good with the iOS basic. That's what every company look for. Yes. So I will end this session here.